Abstraction is basically focusing on what is important, so hiding details and focusing on what is important. This is the process of identifying only the required characteristics of an object and ignoring the irrelevant details, because it will be identified later. So an abstract class is a class that is declared with the abstract keyword. An abstract method is a method that is declared without an implementation. So you just declare the method and you don't implement it. An abstract class may or may not have all abstract methods. So you can implement some methods, you can make some methods abstract. A method that is defined as abstract must always be redefined in the subclass. So if you declare a method as abstract, you need to provide implementation in the classes that inherit it, so in the subclass. Overriding is compulsory, or the subclass makes that method abstract, which means the subclass that inherits this one has to implement it. Any class that contains one or more abstract method must also be declared with the abstract keyword. And an abstract class has no object instantiation. It cannot be directly instantiated with a new operator. An abstract class can have parameterized constructors, and default constructors is always present in an abstract class. So an abstract class can have different types of constructors that can be implemented or be defined further in the subclass. So abstraction happens in an inheritance relationship, so a parent and a class. That's where abstraction takes place. So we've got an example of abstraction here. This is a car which has 3 fields and 2 methods, and 2 subclasses, Ferrari and Audi, and there's also a class called car repair. And we'll just do an example of this right now. So we'll go to our code, and we've got a class called car here already, so we'll just delete it because this is a different class on its own. So we've got a class called car, which should be abstract, and we'll define our variables: protected int tires, and protected int door, and protected string color. And we've got 2 methods. So when you're declaring an abstract method, you just you need to call it abstract, which means it's not being implemented. So call it abstract, and then we have another one called abstract accelerate. Is also void. And because you've declared your methods as abstract, your class automatically needs to be abstract. So we created an abstract class, and as you can see, the sign of the class changes, which shows that, oh, this class is an abstract class. The class has 3 methods, 3 fields, and 2 methods. And we'll create 2 classes called Ferrari and Audi each. And our Ferrari and Audi has to extend our abstract class called car. And because it is extending car, which is an abstract class, it needs to implement all the methods that are abstract that are defined in the car class. So you see that it throws an error, so you need to implement the methods. And it shows you the 2 methods you have to implement. You have to implement everything. If I remove the accelerate, it should throw an error, because in abstraction you have to inherit all the abstract methods defined in your abstract class. So we'll do the same thing for the Audi. Extend car, and because it is an abstract class, car is an abstract class, we need to implement the methods. So we have 2 different classes that would implement methods, and we'll just create our last class in our class diagram, which is called car repair. And as you can see, this car repair takes in an object called car. It doesn't take in a data type, it takes in an object, which basically means that a method can take in different kinds of parameters. It doesn't necessarily have to be a primitive data type like integer, string. It can take in an object, an array, can take in any kind of parameter. So we'll just go into our class and define a new class called car repair. And this we have a method called void repair car, public void. And we take in the parameter of car. So in our Ferrari, we'll just give it some words to write. So it just means system.out. So we're overriding the methods, which means that we can personalize what we want to put here. So it just says brakes applied to Ferrari. And we'll just say here Ferrari accelerated. And for our Audi, we'll do the same thing. So I'll just copy and paste it to save time. Accelerating Audi. And in my car repair, I will just put in some repairing and then I'll just put in car dot accelerate and car dot apply brakes. So we're going to test this out in our main class. We'll delete this one because we don't need it anymore. This one. So I'm going to create a new Ferrari. I'm going to create a new Ferrari, and because my class is an abstract class, I cannot create an object of that class directly, so I have to use the subclass. So I'll say car, a Ferrari, or we can say car1, in case it's equals to new Ferrari, and then I can say car1 dot apply brakes, car1 dot accelerate. I can also say car1 dot I need to create a new, so I can say car repair. I'll create a new car repair. A new object of car repair equals to new car repair, and then I can say car repair dot repair car. My repair car needs an object of a car, which is car1, so I'll just put car1, and I can delete this one and run it and see what it gives me. So because the car that was created is a Ferrari, the car repair is repairing a Ferrari because it's the Ferrari that was created. If this was changed to an Audi, you would see that the acceleration will take place in the Audi car, and the brakes being applied will be applied to an Audi car. So if I run this application, you can see that it is accelerating my Audi and my brakes are being applied to my Audi. So abstract class cannot be directly implemented and needs to be implemented using its subclasses. An abstract method defined in an abstract class have to be overridden and implemented by the subclasses. So this is the object class is at the top of the hierarchy in every Java class. You don't see it, but it's done by default. So any class you have, it is a subclass of the object class. The object class is at the top of the hierarchy, and that is why we can inherit some of the methods in the object class. Last week I inherited a method called toString, which is a method in the object class. So that is why I could inherit it, because I created a class, and by default Java makes the object class the top of the hierarchy. So if I go to my class here, my Ferrari class here, and I just create a toString method, you can see that the toString method that is coming is from the object class. If I click on that, you can see that it overrides a method called toString. And if I go to where the toString is, if you want to see more about where the toString is, you click on Control or Command and you hover on the string on the method, and it shows you where it was. Oh, you can see it. You can see it. It shows you where the method is actually created. So I was in my Ferrari, and I clicked on this I clicked on this little icon on the side, and it took me to the object class. So this object class is provided by Java by default, and you can override all the method written in it. Hash code can be overridden if you need it. Equals can be overridden. That one can also be overridden. The toString can be overridden as well, and everything in the Java object class can be overridden as required. That is why you don't really see it, because it's not really used for when it is needed, it can be called. And hence the Java class, the object class in Java is an abstract class because it is not implementing anything, and for implementation you have to call it in your own actual class.